What's up, Ryuji here. We out here at the Vegan World 2026 conference. I'm here with Thomas Jackson, who's a filmmaker, and he just made a film called A Prayer for Compassion. And we just watched that film yesterday. It was an incredible film. I learned so much from it. And it's a film where Thomas went to speak to different people from spiritual communities to talk to them about the intersection between their particular spiritual beliefs and veganism. You know, oftentimes, if you do outreach, you know this, that people might use spiritual beliefs or religious beliefs as excuses or arguments against veganism, and this film really shows that all the spiritual beliefs that at least you covered in your film really align with veganism. And so I just wanted to talk to you about that for a second. And before we go into that, if you could like introduce yourself real quick and tell everyone like who you are, what's your background, and how you came to make this film.
Okay, I'll see if I can do that. My name is Thomas Jackson, and I'm a filmmaker. I went to film school about 20 years ago, and I've been doing freelance work in between. I became a vegan in 2005 when I was attending a Unity church, and I was hearing the messages of compassion and kindness and interconnectedness. And you know, I didn't know any vegetarians or vegan, and no one at the church at that time that I knew personally, especially the ministers and chaplains, were not vegetarian and vegan. We'd go to brunch, and I would see things and go, hey, how are they teaching me about interconnectedness and love for all, but they're eating these animals? But at the time, you know, I was young in Unity, and I was newly meditating for a few years, and I felt, who am I to say anything? So I really just wanted to be a good example and live and let live kind of thing. And then in 2012, my daughter was born, and right after that, I saw Cowspiracy, and oh my God, it just really affected me on a deep level. The idea that the planet is being destroyed by this industry that is needless. I'd been vegan already a decade. I was in great health. I'm like, you know, I didn't know a lot of vegans because where I lived, there were, you know, I moved from New York back down to South Georgia, North Florida, and so I didn't know a lot of vegans, and that's the whole reason I saw Cowspiracy. I wanted my daughter to know vegan, so I joined the Tao Veg and had that thing. But so when I saw Cowspiracy, I didn't really know. I was feeling anxious and about the future of our children, and I didn't know what to do, so I did what I always do when I don't know what to do, which is to pray and meditate. And so I kind of asked Spirit, like, what is my part? What can I do, you know, to help leave a better planet for my daughter? And I started meditating on this idea or this question. And in my mind, I flashed back to Unity and these religious people eating this stuff. And at this point, before I didn't know anything about the environmental impact. Then I'm suddenly like, wow, not only are they hurting the animals, but they're hurting the creation that we're here to be stewards of. They were teaching us about being stewards, and wow, we're destroying this planet. So this question popped in my mind is, how can spiritual and religious people that have compassion and love and kindness as their values be doing such a cruel thing to their bodies, to the animals, and to the planet? So I got the idea. At first I was like, you know, you're crazy. I know what it takes to make a film. I'm a single dad, have no money, you know. But I said, okay, what's coming? You know, what's the next step? And it, you know, kind of step by step, it led me through this process. But I lost my train for a minute. I'm watching my daughter. She's documenting us.
Melody behind the camera right now is taking behind-the-scenes photos of this interview. It's gonna be incredible. Probably put that as B-roll or something.
So my daughter Melody, she's the reason I made the film, and she's also in the film in small little chunks to help us absorb this thing that we learn. But did that answer the question about?
Absolutely, yeah, okay. Absolutely. And then, so you made this film that's was incredible, by the way, you know, because we watched it yesterday, as I said, and I learned a lot. So what are the things that you would say, you know, because I just watched the film and it was like, what, an hour and a half or something, maybe, I don't know exactly how long it was, but obviously I learned a lot from watching the film, but you made the film, so you actually had to go out and meet all these people. So what would you say are some lessons you learned from meeting these people from different spiritual backgrounds?
Perfect. And I want to address one other thing, because you just nailed it on the head. When it was that meditation and it said, make this film, and I said, you're crazy. It showed me, I had these two flashes that came across, or three things that the Spirit, like, when I said, this is not for me. The first thing it showed me, it said, because I said, I don't know any vegans, I don't know this subject. There's got to be somebody who knows more about this to make this film. Why are you coming to me? But it said, if you make this film, you will get to go to these wonderful, amazing people who do know this information, ask them questions, so you will have the opportunity to learn in that way. Then, as a filmmaker, I knew I'd get to take it back and edit it, so I get to absorb it. And then it showed me going out with the film and sharing what I'd learned. So these 3 flashes came to me, that those were the things that kind of said, okay, you got my curiosity, what's the first step? So saying that, it totally paid off. Everything that was shown to me was exactly what the treasures that I've received. The treasures of meeting other vegans. I have so many vegans in my life now, so many spiritual vegans that are living compassion, so I receive that. But the knowledge, sitting down with these, not just wise people, some of these people are just tremendously wise, but every one of them is just purposely driven by compassion. Because the other thing that made the film take on compassion as opposed to spiritual veganism is that compassion is at the heart. And this is what I learned too, all the interviews. Every single religion has compassion as one of the primary building blocks of that religion. So, and then I heard this fact that like 84% of the population considers themselves spiritual or religious. So I thought, wow, if half of those people live the compassion that they're teaching, then it would be a different world. So I went out and I started asking these people about the details of this, and I was so surprised. Even I grew up Christian, and I had no idea how much of the Bible is saying to eat plants and to take care of animals. I mean, this is not in the film. I discovered this after I'd edited the film, but there's a verse in Genesis where, before the ones we talk about, where God has just created Adam, and he says that he's lonely. And so God created him companions. It wasn't Eve that he created when Adam was lonely, it was the animals. So that right there tells you something. He didn't create the animals when Adam was hungry. He created them when he was lonely. He didn't create them for food, he created them for friendship. So right there in the Bible, that's a building block. But what we discuss is in Genesis, he prescribes that we eat a plant-based diet. Not only that, people talk about dominion, but 3 lines before he prescribes a plant-based diet, he is the dominion line. And he says, yes, we do have dominion over the animals, but what you have to realize is that 3 lines later, he says, but you only eat plants. So he wasn't saying you have dominion for that. And what Jeffrey Cohen really points out in the film is not only is it the same conversation, dominion and what we eat, but in the same dominion verse, it starts saying man was created in the image of God, which means that the dominion we have over the animals is the same dominion that God has over us. And throughout the Bible, you see that the dominion that God exercises over man is love and kind, compassion, just gentleness and just caring, So my thing was, I think what I've learned, to answer the question, and I don't really answer the question in the film of how can a spiritual person do that? But what I've learned from the people that aren't spiritual that I talk to, that are really completely dedicated to their religion and helping other people and other animals that are pets and things, but they don't quite make the connection, is that unawareness of what's really going on. Like if they knew, I really believe that so many of the people, if they would allow themselves just to see that in order for there to be milk, a cow has to be raped and that her baby is stolen. I mean, personally, if I had known that way before I knew what veganism is, I don't think I could have participated in that. I mean, that just breaks my heart to think that as a father, to think that somebody would take my baby so that they could have something that was meant for her. Just seems the opposite of love. It seems evil. So, and all religions that we interviewed, whether it be Christianity, Judaism, Muslims, Jainism, Hinduism, all of these religions teach that we are to treat all life with respect and love and compassion, that we're all connected. And this journey has taught me that there are unseen forces that are bringing all of these things together, and that if you will meditate and pray on it, and then follow what you're getting. That, you know, like I said, I was a single father. I had no money to make this, and the money that came in was money that found us. Like when I had to try to fundraise, I would do a little GoFundMe, but the main money came in not because they saw that, but somebody had heard of the film and told this person, and they like, oh, 2 days ago I had an idea, somebody should make this film, and I just heard about it. Here's $10,000, go do what you need to do. And because we got invited to Morocco, we got credentials and everything, and I had no money to go, but he said, we got credentials, can you go? We got to know, if you can't go, we got to give these credentials away. And I said, Okay, we'll go on in a minute. So it's just been an amazing experience for me to learn that not only can we be inspired through unseen forces in our meditations, but they will actually come and meet us when it's needed. You know, so when I got that invitation to go, can you fill the spot? Your credentials are here, but if you can't make it, we're going to give them away. I told him, I said, my heart says yes. I don't know how I'm going to do it, yes, but I say yes. And that's when the person from all the way around the world found us and provided the way. So my main thing for activists that I want them to take away personally, not so much from the movie's tools for activists to use with their spiritual and religious people so they can show them that, hey, you're teaching, show us this. But the inspiration I really want to give people is that all of us are getting these callings inside. Right now, the planet needs us, the future generations need us, the animals need us, and we need each other. We need to have compassion for ourselves. We need to learn how to be present, and meditation teaches us that. It teaches us to be here with ourselves and with other people. And so my encouragement now is for people not only to meditate, but before they meditate, ask, what can I do to make a better world? And then start acting on that. You know, because before this film, I would get ideas and I would say, I don't have the money, I don't have the connections, I don't have this, and I would shoot the idea down. But because this was about my daughter, you know, about future generations, it felt too important. And even though I would say no, I would say no, but oh, why? You know, okay, what do you want me to do? And it never let me down. I mean, I've had doubts the whole way. I want people to know that even when you are on purpose and things are unfolding magically, your insecurities are always going to be there. They're always, after last night's screening, I told you, like, all these people love it, and I thought, oh, vegans are so nice. It's like your mother when she says you look nice today.
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
That's just my mom. So, you know, it's never going to be great enough for any of us personally, our own contribution, but I saw it touch people. People came up to me and I saw it, you know, and so I felt it. So I've learned that we have to, despite ourselves and our insecurities, that we have to keep our eye on what we're fighting for. And I hate to use the word fighting because it really is not fighting. We don't have to fight anything. We just have to bring the love. And when we talk to these people, we can't bring judgment because that's going to shut them down. And unless you were born vegan, you really, and even then, you know, your parents probably were, like, there's something in your life where to judge other people is not, and Jesus taught, you know, do not judge, lest you be judged, because that judgment part of your head is replying to you and everybody else. So.
How can we expect ourselves to have lives of joy and freedom and spiritual clarity when we are sowing the seeds of the opposite of that?
It's almost like some mad scientist, like Satan himself, designed these systems that are being used now to raise animals. It is absolute insanity.
I don't get how you can love everything Jesus says and then participate in a mechanized system of mass slaughter that involves pain beyond your wildest imagination.
Even keeping quiet and silent about the violence, you are part of that violence.
There's another passage in the Quran that says that because of the wrongs of humanity, there has been much corruption seen in the oceans and on land.
So for a few moments in which we're enjoying what is really just a palate preference, we're taking what is most essential to animals, their very lives. And that's the opposite of compassion, it seems to me.
We are ashamed of our ancestors who owned slaves. We are ashamed of our ancestors who believed in segregation. So too, our grandchildren will be ashamed of what we allowed to happen on our watch. Each of us has to ask ourselves a spiritual question. What side do I want to tell my grandchildren I was on? Was I on the side of mercy and compassion, or was I on the blind side that helped to perpetuate suffering?
It's the light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine.